What's the one thing that rich people buy that the poor and middle class don't? So you see it on Instagram, you see it on Facebook, sometimes you see it on YouTube, that you see them, the rich people, they have these nice watches, and they drive the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, the Bentley, they stay in luxurious hotels, they have like huge houses and all these things that they buy. And that's what people see, rich people, that's what they have. But that's not actually what got them there, right? So what did they actually buy? Rich people, one thing that they buy is they buy assets that the poor and the middle class don't. Now, what are assets? I'm talking about income producing assets. Assets that appreciate, assets that would make them money. So example, it could be a real piece of real estate. It could be an apartment building. It could be a company. It could be stock. Any assets, investments that would put money in their pocket. Versus poor and middle class, what do they buy? They buy liabilities. If you study a little bit about Robert Kiyosaki's The Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know that the definition of assets is it's assets, it's things that put money in your pocket. And most middle class, they buy liabilities such as their home, their primary residence, that they think is asset, which is not, because assets are supposed to make you money while you sleep, versus liabilities is to eat you. It takes away money from you while you sleep. And you look at poor middle class, you look at their financial statements, very often they have very little or no assets, zero assets, and they have a lot of liabilities, their home, their car, and all that stuff, but they have very little assets. So rich people, we buy assets first, then the assets buys our luxuries, versus the other way around. I'll give you a perfect example. So instead of asking yourself that, saying to yourself, I can't afford that, it's too expensive. Rich people, that's not how we think. That's a very low level poor person mentality. I can't afford it, right? Rich people, we ask the question, not only how can I afford it, but how can I make this make me money? How can I make this make me money? So instead of thinking, let's say for this car, so I could have just buy this Bentley anytime, but I waited for a period of time because I set a goal and say, okay, instead of just buying a liability, I need to buy the asset first. So I need to buy an asset that would throw off enough cash flow, in my case, a real piece of real estate, enough cash flow that I know that would cover my monthly payment of my Bentley, right? So instead of me just buying a Bentley, which then I have to pay from myself, from my own pocket, I say, okay, let me go through a step. Let me buy the asset, the one thing, buy the asset first. When the asset throws enough cash flow, that pays for my luxuries, that pays for this particular car that we're filming in. So even though when this car, I might change 2-3 years, when I no longer drive it, when I sell it, whatever it is, guess what? I still have the asset that's working for me. That's the difference. Rich people, we buy nice things. We buy the nicest things. The difference is we don't want to use our own money. We buy the assets first, we invest first, we buy the investments first, then we buy liabilities. The definition of rich people, the rich is very simple. Rich people, we are entrepreneurs who invest. I'll say it again. We are entrepreneurs who invest. Versus even if you're a business owner, instead of just buying stuff from your business, make the money from your business first, right? And then you can put into investments. If you've watched my wealth triangle video, you know I talk about the 3 stages, right? If you have not watched that, make sure you click on the I button. Just watch that first, then you know what I'm talking about. So high income skills, and then I talk about your scalable business. I talk about high return investments. So rich people, we are entrepreneurs who invest. So that's the one thing that rich people buy that the poor and middle class do not. Let me give you one more tip. There's one thing that we also buy that the poor and middle class do not. And that is rich people buy time, poor people sell time. Rich people buy time, poor people sell time. You think about people who are struggling financially or employees, they sell their time. They get paid based on time. How many hours I get, how many hours I work, how much do I get paid per hour, or how much do I get paid per month or bi-weekly, right? That's how most people think. Rich people, we don't do that. We buy time. We buy time because time is the one thing that you cannot replace. This second that you're watching my video, that second is gone. The minute you watch this video, that minute's gone. You can't replace it, I can't replace it. I cannot replace that. Customer is replaceable. Money is replaceable. Time is not. I cannot create, manufacture more time. Money, I can always make more money if I have the time. If I run out of time, I cannot do that. That's why time to rich people is our most valuable commodity. That's why I fucking hate it when people waste my time. It's worse than stealing from me. It's worse than stealing money from me. Because money, I can always make it back. The minute that I waste, I cannot get it back. And if I use the time wisely, I could use it to make a lot of money. So the reason we buy time, we buy talents, we buy people, we buy people that could help us. We buy people that could save us time, right? So you got to think of it that way, how you value your time. So that's what rich people do. Rich people buy time, and if you don't value your time, you're not going to be successful. You have to value your time. How you manage your time, how you invest your time, your most valuable investment that you have. So there you go. That's what rich people buy. The one thing that they buy that the poor and middle class that they don't. Don't look at just what they have, the fancy car, and that's the thing. Before we go. Because maybe when you had no money, you've been struggling for so long, you have been working hard for so long, and suddenly when you make a little bit of money, and you all the image that you have about rich people, all the nice thing, the nice car, all the things that they have, suddenly you make a little bit of money. I'm not talking about a lot of money, a little bit of money, and you say, I want to fucking, I've worked 15, I've waited 10 to 20, 30 years for this. Fuck it, I want that life. And you go spend the money. And you think by spending that money, that makes you rich, that makes you fucking poor. That doesn't make you rich. You only see the service, you see the result, you see the outcome, you don't look at the fucking process. Look at how they got rich. They buy the assets first. Before they buy the fancy watch, they buy the investment. The investment makes them money, then they buy the fancy watch. But you don't want to do that. Suddenly you make a little money because you're so fucking insecure. You got a big fucking ego. You want to show the world, you want to show your family that you fucking quote unquote made it, which you haven't. You want to look rich versus be rich. You go buy that fucking watch. You know what? You wear that watch and you thought you fucking made it. Everybody thought you made it. You did not make it. You just made yourself poor. Poorer. That's not what makes you rich. But if you can have the self-discipline, you have the self-control and say, you know what? I'm gonna buy the assets first. I'm gonna buy the assets first. Once you buy that, your assets, you can buy all the fucking luxuries you want. Your assets pays for it. It's okay. Buy the nice things that you want. It doesn't quote unquote cost you because your investments are providing for you. Investments are feeding you. It's making you money. That's the difference. So think about that. Don't just look at, oh, I want the nice things. It's not the nice thing is a result. That's the next step. First, you got to build a portfolio. I didn't have nice things for the first 10 years of my life. It's only now I've like quote unquote after all these years. Okay, now I have people say, oh yeah, Dan, you got I didn't have the fucking Bentley overnight. I was driving Air Mazda for a number of years, right? Then Audi, not that Audi's a bad car, but it's okay, but it's not a Bentley. For a number of years, right? Only recently, now enjoying life. And people they'll look at where you are today, but they don't look at where you came from. Ponder on that. Comment below. Share with me what's the one thing that you think also poor and middle class buy. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.